Welcome to Holding Shot, a Bowls WA podcast featuring the biggest names and their stories from the greens around Western Australia.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Holding Shot. My name is Aaron Clark, or A2 here at the office. I'm joined here by Peter.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well.
Good stuff. So I'm really enjoying making the podcast. We've had Christina on, we've had a couple more that we have been doing, and it's just really enjoyable. We've had a couple of responses already from suggestions on who to have on, and a couple of stories as well. So definitely head in there and send some emails. It will be at the end. But other than that, we've got a guest on today. We do.
Yes. It'll be interesting to see how he is on the other side of the microphone.
Yeah, exactly. So, most people might already know his voice or know of him. It's Clive Adams here today. How are you?
I am great. Very, very pleased to be here and on the podcast. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, you've done this sort of thing before. People have definitely heard your voice. So just let's go with a bit more of a formal of who you are. What is your role? What do you do? What's your job here in Bowls?
Yeah, so obviously for just over 8 years now, I've been working for Bowls Australia in the regional Bowls manager role for North and East. Basically, it's a big region, all the way up to Port Hedland and out to Kalgoorlie and everywhere in between. So, but it's been a fantastic time. Really enjoy getting out to the clubs and helping clubs work within our great sport. And of course, the role has expanded. I'm also the senior regional bowls manager for New South Wales as well. So WA and New South Wales. Was over there recently visiting with the guys on the east coast, and nice trip along the coast there, which was great fun, and got to see how some of the clubs over there are doing it, which was great. And of course the commentary role as well with the Ringside live coverage. So love all of that.
Yeah, of course. There's definitely a lot you do in terms of commentary. And what was it? Ringside Clive, is it? Ringside
Clive, yeah, that's sort of evolved from being Ringside Live, is what we've covered. Already had 4 of those letters covered off, so we've. It's interesting actually. At the Australian Open, they have the "It's Live, It's Queensland." You know, it's live in Queensland, and I've been tempted to get out there with a t-shirt, just put a C on the front of that. But I haven't quite managed that yet. But watch out.
Maybe one day you'll sneak in and get that.
You do see some merchandise.
Yeah,
walking around.
A couple of shirts, is there?
Yes, the shirts are there. I believe they're still
selling.
I believe there's still some in stock.
Oh,
I don't know how hard that stock is to push, but
where can they get that for those listening?
Bowls Australia e-store. Definitely. I think, as I say, I think there's still some in stock, but maybe we'll have to do another run.
I can say if there's enough demand, surely they'll go again.
It's a bit of fun, and look, the reality is we've got a wonderful crew that follow along with our Ringside live coverage. It's been a lot of pleasure for people at home, which is the most satisfying part of that role.
Yeah, brilliant. So you also do a podcast with, is it Val, and yeah.
Close enough.
Val, Lindsay, and Carla, of course. The Right Line, which we've done just about 45 episodes, I think, of that, which is fantastic. Lots of opportunities to catch up with clubs all around Australia, perhaps winners of events and things like that. We've had all sorts of different people join us on the podcast, and it's been fantastic. So really enjoyed bringing all of that to people, and we've got a nice loyal band of people that look forward to those episodes.
Yeah, brilliant. So it's we're almost doing a similar thing where we're trying to fortnightly. Yeah. I don't know if yours is fortnightly as well, but it's really good to kind of get more stories out into the public, a bit more awareness, a bit more discussion from and off the green.
I think that's one thing we know. We've got the wonderful stories out there. Our sport is full of great stories and great people, and we haven't always done the best job of getting that out there. So these sorts of exercises definitely do that, and give people a bit of a voice to showcase the great things they're doing in our sport. So absolutely full credit to Bowls WA for getting this going, and
certainly a lot of hidden gems out there. We don't know what they did in a past life now that they're playing bowls, but a lot of previous sportsmen, high court judges, I'm sure, are out there, all those kind of people with great stories, and we need to tap into them. So again, and you'll say it at the end, but clubs who have these kind of people who have that interesting story. We need to hear about them. Everyone needs to hear about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let people be heard.
I think at times we think our clubs are about the bricks and mortar and the buildings and the facilities and all that stuff's great, but our clubs are about our people. And that's what our sport really boils down to. It's about the people that you have in your club, because if you don't have the people, you don't have a club.
Absolutely, the community is so strong, and with social media at the moment, like, it can really reach out to more people, which is such a advantage here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll get back to you personally, because that's why you're here. Also to learn about you, so the people out there who, I'm sure everyone in Western Australia clearly knows you play, but I know there are a few probably Eastern Staters maybe don't know your abilities as much as what some others do. Of course, you hide them. I know you don't spook them that much.
Not too much.
No, not too much. But one of your part of your jobs is juniors, and of course that's where you've come from.
Yes.
Juniors. So you do have that knowledge of the how to get juniors into the game. What drove you into the game? So what drove you into the game?
Yeah, it's interesting. The pathway that I followed is very similar to the pathway that I'm out there promoting in a way. So I started in bowls probably on two fronts. I was very aware of the sport through my grandparents and my dad, who all played. So I'd had an early introduction to the sport in that sense. And then at school, there was a multi-sports day, and you could put your name down for various different sports. And I saw bowls there. And because it was familiar to me, I went, yeah, I think I'll do bowls, So I put my name down for bowls, and a couple of other mates did as well. And we went along to the Wanneroo Club and got introduced to a coach. Fred Calder was the coach that looked after us, and he must have done a good job, because he got us hooked. And from there, I still played my other sports, but I eventually got to a point I was playing cricket in the morning, and then bowls in the afternoon. Dad would have the car running. I'd run up the hill from the cricket ground, straight in, same pair of whites at that stage in terms of the bottoms, and change into a bowls top, and away we'd go to go and play the bowls. So Saturday was a fairly full-on day for me for a few years. And then it really became clear to me I wanted to focus on bowls as what my primary sport, and that's what I chose to do. So
you mentioned your coach to start with. So it's just showing how important it is, that first introduction, someone who can relate. I assume he related, made things fun, made you want to come every week.
Yeah, it's interesting. That is a really important aspect of the sport. I don't know whether Fred at that stage did that as well as perhaps we're aware now. It was a bit more traditional back in those days, and I was 11, sort of going on 12, so very young to be in the bowls scheme of things at that stage. But no, the best selling point for bowls is to get out there and have a go, because you get hooked. You think, well, this is all right, and I like the tactics of things. I'm probably a bit of an analytical mind, so I like that side of it as well. That was probably the main thing. And me and my mate Justin, and still good mates today, we both started at Wanneroo at the same time. He took a different path. He became a chef, which doesn't really allow you to play any job you really want to. Of course, then Kyle McElroy came along as well, and that was the two of us there at Wanneroo that started playing pennant bowls together at Wanneroo. Funny story there, actually. We started in the lowest grade, and we were playing with a skipper. Les Carrott was the skipper that we played with, good old Les. And we were generally playing one short. We were playing 3-3-2 in most of our games. At that stage, if you were missing one, you're allowed to go 3-3-2. And so that's what we were doing. And about halfway through the season, they promoted us into 5th Division. And the whole club went into uproar. No, they're too young to be playing 5th Division. They can't do that. So they dropped us back down to 6th Division again. So look, that's the way I got into it. Really, really proud of the family links and playing with Dad, and I don't know whether you got questions around that, but proudest moments of playing with Dad and winning titles with Dad, amazing.
So we'll jump there, because we'll come back again with your dad, obviously. What titles did you
So a club
Surely
pairs,
pairs,
a club pairs and a club triples.
Who skippered the pairs?
With that, I skippered the pairs. Yes, yeah.
Come on.
I'll say I did a lot of the heavy lifting to get to the final, but then Dad was excellent in the final. So I got
He's a big time player.
I've got to give him that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, you'd remember a story with Dad as well, stepping in for Jeff Ellis.
Yes, and his
at a
thongs or whatever it was. No sandals.
Yep.
Sandals.
Premier League pennant game in a striped shirt and sandals. Yeah, that was interesting. The triples were playing against Echo Widamansky at Wanneroo, and we went into the last end 5 behind. It was 2-bowl triples. Went in the last end 5 behind. My dad and Joe Marinovich, bless his heart, Joe. They left me 3 up as we changed over, and Echo drew the shot and I sat him for 4, and then he drew the shot again and I sat him for 5, and we got it to an extra end and won it. So it was a remarkable win. But yeah, to get the club triples with Dad and Joe, 10 years prior I'd won the club triples with my granddad and Joe. It's really special.
Family links.
It's really special.
All the way
and when they're gone, you treasure it all that more.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. So you would say that's your biggest achievements in terms of bowls. It's going to stay with you for a while there. Let's go into a bit more about your stateside, perhaps. A bit more about leaving the stateside, perhaps being dropped by the stateside. Have you got any stories around that?
Yeah, so I got my first chance in the stateside in 2000. Unusual pathway into the stateside for me because I debuted at the Myoma Fibre side after Reg Humphreys and I won the Australian champion and champion pairs. We'll talk a bit more down the track on that, but so I got the spot at the Myoma Fibre side. I went okay at Myoma, debuted directly against Steve Glasson, which was interesting. Then went to Canberra for the first side series, and they were the slowest greens I'd ever played on, I think. And it was a massive shock to the system. I played absolutely awful.
Any particular bowls that you can remember that was particularly bad?
Just all of them.
Just all of them?
Oh yeah, no, it was just
one after the other.
I wasn't there, but
yeah, it was a shocking series. I personally came away from it. Unfortunately, got dropped. Got the phone call from the selectors that said these things happen. I went, these things happen. I've gone from top 5 right out of the 32. At that stage, it was a squad of 32, right out, and I sort of went, wow. I don't know. I've got to work out where I stand in the sport again in my own mind. I was at Doubleview for that year. I didn't just feel like at that stage I fitted that culture, and that's not necessarily an issue with anyone at Doubleview. That's just what I'm looking for and what I was looking for. So a couple of weeks out from the start of the season, I contacted Wanneroo again, where I'd played for so long. Said to them, any chance I can come back? And they said, absolutely. And I did that, and I think I just discovered the love of the sport again. Redefined what I was really playing for.
Right.
And within 2 years, got a couple of nice results. Got to the finals of a few state events and semi-finals of a few state events, and worked my way back into the state side. 2003, went away and had another terrible series, and thought, well, is that it? Is that the last chance I get? You know, and again came back, had another excellent season, and basically said you can't leave me out, and they picked me again. And finally, up at Tweed Heads, went away and played a pretty solid series, and said, this is what I can do. I wasn't with you in that one.
No, you were next to me.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. So look, it was a bit of a roller coaster to start, and it shows you. It probably shows that you don't have to be on fire the first chance you get. So and a lot of people feel like they do. You know.
What would you say to those that perhaps are having a bit of a rough time in their play? Because you obviously bounced back multiple times from that story. What was there anything you'd say, or anything in your mind, or anything that anyone said to you that kind of resonated with you and went, okay, no, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to stay playing. I know why I'm enjoying it. This is why I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Is going back and saying, well, what am I really playing this sport for? And that probably changes over time.
Of course, yeah.
And that depends on what achievements you've had or what you want to achieve, what disappointments you've had along the way that frame what you're playing the sport for. At that stage, I wanted to get back. So when I first got dropped from that side, I wanted to get back and just get back to enjoying bowls. And I knew Wanneroo was a bit of a safe haven for me to be able to do that. Didn't have to prove myself to anyone there.
Yep.
Just go back and start playing good bowls again. Again, Dad was always a wonderful support for me, so we would talk often about bowls. It was a shared passion, so it was something we'd talk about a lot. And my family's always been a really important support. And I guess, you know, looking at the friends you've got in the sport and seeing what others have done, and taking inspiration from that as well, and just surrounding yourself with good people.
Yeah, it's definitely a social sport. There's definitely a lot of community involved in it. Despite something that I particularly see as, you know, you are alone on that mat almost, but you're also not alone on that mat, which is something that I like to talk about a lot, because there's a lot of community that gives you motivation when you're alone.
We're a sport that you've got time to think.
Yeah.
And you can use that for good.
And sometimes too overthinking, too much
it's
time.
like most sports, mental is so important.
Absolutely.
That we don't probably concentrate on enough. Especially, you know, the state team does a little bit of mental stuff, but just coming through the mental toughness required, because you're not always going to have good days. You are going to get dropped occasionally, or someone's going to say, you played awful.
Yeah.
And you've got to be realistic and honest with yourself. Did I play awful? And how you come back mentally is the skill level doesn't change.
Yeah.
If you can play, you can play.
Probably opened my eyes, being away with the state teams opened my eyes to different surfaces as well, and being able to prepare for those different surfaces. Testing yourself when the conditions aren't great, and being able to say, well, I can still work my way through this, and I've got the maturity to work my way through that. And there's probably a series that I did play with you, Pete, where we played a couple of, I'm trying to think which series it was. I think it, you know, I'm not sure of the exact year, but we played a couple of practice games the day before and couldn't reach. Short, couldn't reach. Went back to the room that night and really got it through my head, right, I am going to push, I'm going to make sure that I give my bowls a chance, you know, and ended up playing a pretty good series. It might have even been the Glen Waverley series.
Victoria.
Yeah.
Yep.
And where we had an excellent record, and it was all about making sure you reach. And so being able to put yourself in situations, take good advice about practicing before you go away, not going and playing on the pristine 16-second greens that we had, and maybe finding something. I went and practiced on a green that wasn't even open at Wanneroo. I said Rabbit Graham Adamini was the greenkeeper there. That was before the Nelson Bay series. It was Prickles that had given us the advice. He said, go and find the slowest green you can to play on. I went, okay, I'm going to take that advice. And I went to Wanneroo and I said to Rabbit, can I roll up on B green? He said, B green? He said, that's going to run about 10. I said, that's exactly what I want. And I spent 4 hours rolling on that. Went over, found a slightly slowish green over there that felt like it was running quite nice.
Yeah, that's a lot of that is, if you're coming from, as you say, a 16, 17 second green, even playing pennants in Perth, and you go away to what is a nice 14, it feels slow.
Yeah, it does.
So those fast clubs sometimes complain about the slower clubs, but they're still running a nice 14. You're just playing on quick stuff all the time.
Yeah.
We get a bit precious sometimes about speed.
Yeah.
It's all about trueness in my aspect. Yep. If it's true and I have to throw it harder or throw it lighter, then so be it.
And don't beat yourself.
No.
Don't beat yourself because of the conditions.
No.
The conditions are what they are. You can't do anything about that. So how are you going to make the best of those conditions on the day is really important.
So the second time around, you felt a lot more comfortable. And I'll come back to compatibility, compatibility, because Wanneroo had probably one of the most compatible teams in the, was that about 2007, 8, somewhere around there?
Yeah, 2005, 6, I would say. That's when I think it was 2006 that we won the First Division Red.
You can say out of nowhere. You had no stars in that team, apart from yourself, of course. But you were just a really 16 that looked like they wanted to play for each other.
Promoted from 1 white the year before. Didn't really make too many changes to the team. 9th at Christmas on the table. Still 12 points out of the 4 with 5 games to go. And the turning point for us probably was a win at Doubleville, where we took all 8 points, but we only won the aggregate by 11. But we got all 8 points, and that was enough to get us into that top 4, and then beat all 3 of the sides that were in the top 4, including one that you were in, Pete.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a remarkable. I don't know that a couple of sides have come close. I think Victoria Park, Carlisle went close a few years ago of getting that promotion back in there and winning it. It's a very, very hard thing to do, and yeah, it definitely goes to 16 guys rowing in the same direction. No one feeling like they should be doing anything other than what their job is.
Yep.
And a remarkable win. That win that year, the final was at Carlisle Lathlane, and we'd actually had to play a couple of pennant games at Carlisle Lathlane during the year because the Wanneroo Greens had been closed.
So a bit excited about that one then.
Controversially, might say, if I remember rightly.
Fairly controversially.
In the end, a good thing.
Yeah, so it felt like a home final in a way. In the bus, we sort of said, well, which other teams in Premier League has won a game at Carlisle this year? They haven't won any, because they hadn't played there. We'd won one.
Yeah.
So no, it was remarkable. And still got the photo of that sitting proudly at home. One of the guys made up some photo frames. I've still got those very proudly sitting at home.
So that's
lovely.
One of the most remarkable wins, or memorable?
Yeah.
A few others?
Yeah, in terms of...
How about a few firsts, like you won the junior pairs with Kyle?
Yes. Yeah, we won the state junior pairs in 1991 and played at Bedford in the national finals. Probably one that got away a little bit for us there. We lost our first game to Victoria, and then we just couldn't quite recover. I think we won our next 2 games from memory, 25-6 and 21-6, but we couldn't recover to win the section and give ourselves a chance. But interesting looking back at some of those players that were in that event are still playing today at Bedford. We had Gary Willis there, who's now the Australian Jackaroos coach. So Gaz was there at Bedford. Gene Ayton, who I've caught up with from Tasmania, we played against him. So Gene's still knocking around and at some of the events. So it's nice to look back at some of those events and think that Bruce played singles that year. He won the singles that year. Myself and Kyle and the
Bruce
Bears,
Urquhart for those.
Yeah, Bruce Urquhart.
What?
Yeah, he was
2 foot nothing.
He was pretty small then, but he was a very, very good player. So
yes.
It's nice times. So absolutely, what probably that did though is it left me feeling like felt like we should have won that, and so that left me going, well, that hung around for a few years and probably didn't really feel like I'd avenged in my own mind, until Reg and I won the state pairs.
So move on to state pairs.
Yeah, 1999.
First major title?
Yeah, we'd been
state title.
Yeah, I've been close. I think we made the semi-finals of the fours a few years earlier, which was a bit of a surprise. We didn't really expect to. But Reg, I rate Reg at that stage. I think he was possibly the best draw shot going around at that stage. He was unbelievable. I still remember a game against Paul Poey on B Green out at Vic Park, one of the qualifying rounds. And often when you win events, you can look back and say there was one defining moment. And it was a tight game. I think it was 8-all after 14 ends. That's how tight. It was a 15-end game. 8-all after 14 ends, and we were looking in trouble. I managed to pop the jack out with a little runner, pop the jack out to the side. And Reg, with his last bowl, had about a foot and a half to draw the shot, and drew the shot beautifully.
Brilliant.
And you look back at what that opened up for me. He misses that draw shot, we don't win the state pairs title, and I don't know what then the rest of my career looks like.
You don't win the Australian pairs title. You don't go to Myoma.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing. It wasn't even my bowl. It was Reg's.
Yeah.
So Yeah, we got through and won that. I still remember sitting at the lights, and I told this story at Reg's funeral, which was probably about 18 months ago now. I told the story of sitting at the Ocean Reef Road lights, which are no longer there. Ocean Reef Road and Wanneroo Road, that's now a bridge. There's no lights left there. And we'd just been down for practice, and I just said to Reg, the week before we were going away, and I said to him, wouldn't it be remarkable if we went away and won an Australian title? And then we did. It was amazing. Won the final by one shot or something ridiculous. It was the boys, WA boys, won the fours on that trip as well at Holdfast Bay, and we won the trophy. It was the Jewish trophy they called it at that stage for the best performed state, which I don't think we'd ever won before. So that was pretty amazing.
So a lot of firsts. So we move on. We might as well we're going to carry on through the firsts.
Yeah,
if things are first. So the first, we go to Myoma Fibre side.
Yes.
There's a first when we won the overall trophy with
2005
with the girls and the boys.
Is that not a thing anymore? Is it?
No, Fibre side's not anymore.
It's a shame because it was a very popular event, and Pete and I were lucky enough to play the pairs together, and I don't know how well we knew each other then. We've probably known each other properly for about 3 or 4 years at that stage, and really enjoyed each other's company. Pete was, I don't say it because he's sitting here, but he was sensational at that stage. And, we come into a final against Steve Glasson and Brett Dupre, who I'd probably rate at that stage were quite possibly the best pair in the world at that stage, I think. And we just had the most amazing game of bowls. I think I played okay, but Pete was sensational. And we got over the line against 2 great blokes, but 2 great players as well. I learned in that game alone, that jack high bowls are no good.
Yes.
Because I reckon I landed 6 times jack high to the jack, and 6 times with the next bowl, Brett Dupre would land me for shot. And I learned very, very clearly that you don't want bowls jack high, but. Yeah, what a remarkable run that was for the men's side and the women's side there. Some friendships that were developed there that are still well and truly alive today, and some really special moments.
Yep. I only remember one shot from that game.
Yes. The plant.
The plant. And I was walking down and said, have you told them what I'm playing? Because I was trying to plant a bowl not really near the head.
About 4 or 5 metres up the green, I think it was. So the jack had been moved.
Yeah, so I had no way of getting to it. So I had to plant a bowl way away from the head. And usually when you get them, they say how lucky you are. So I said, have you told them what I'm playing? So if I get this, they're not shaking their heads saying, how lucky is he?
Yeah.
So that's the only shot I remember.
And up it came and sat that bowl fat. It was beautiful. It was a great call.
I might have needed some convincing.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm. That's the only shot I remember. So that was the first. Your first state singles.
First state singles. Oh,
we can gloss over this very quickly.
Aaron, you'll love this story.
Okay, go on. Hit me with it.
I'll give you 30 seconds.
Yeah. No. Look. So. Yeah. Look. There was a bit more of a story to that state singles because I got the feeling, if we go back to Stateside, I got the feeling that there was just a bit of a groundswell that maybe I was going to lose my place in the team. And whilst that was a theory, it was one that I didn't necessarily agree with and certainly didn't like.
I'd be surprised if you did.
I wanted my spot, so I'd sort of set myself a target to try and go out there and win the state singles. Got a bit of a fright on the second last day from Lenny Mazga. If he'd drawn the shot, I was gone. So another defining moment there.
Yep.
He had a chance to draw to win and just missed. And of course come up in the final against a great mate in Pete. So at Mount Lawley. So Mount Lawley special
I don't
place.
like. Sorry, Mount Lawley, but 12 years I've not liked you.
It was probably a nice venue for me. I'd won the Mount Lawley consistency singles that year there as well, so it was a place where I played with confidence.
Yep.
And Pete and I had a really good battle. I was that far in the zone in that game that I held shot. Pete didn't have any left. I held shot and held game. No need to play my last bowl. Didn't even think to ask whether I had shot and played my last bowl. Luckily, it just held a little bit wide.
So I'd followed my last bowl, thinking I was going to do something, and didn't do what I wanted. So I was still down. And he's lining up to play his last bowl. having won the game, doesn't need to play it. And Mark and I both sort of whispered, is he really going to play this? I hope he's going to play this.
Yeah, you're like,
please play this.
Wow, yeah. But no, look, you measure. I think I said it at Mount Lawley when I won it. You measure your titles on who you beat, and I beat one of the best to win that. So I was pretty stoked with that win. Yeah. Yep.
So we keep moving through the first.
You want to quickly get off of that?
First, you had more than 30 seconds. Yeah. Perth Suns?
Perth Suns, amazing.
First, what year was that?
Ooh.
Can you remember?
I'm going to say 2013.
We'll fact check this.
I'm going to say 2013 was the first BPL. It's definitely either 13 or 14, but I think it was 13. So, I'd played a good series at, where was it? Oh, Broadbeach. It was at Broadbeach, where I'd played a really good series and I'd won the medal as WA's best player and been promoted into the Australia, whether it was Australia A or development squad or whatever it was at that stage. So I was sort of set up with a nice little opportunity, and that timing was great for the BPL to start, because it sort of made me a logical choice, given the fact that I was the only WA player in that set of squads at that stage. So to get that opportunity alongside Jeremy Henry and Brett Wilkie to go and be the first ever WA Perth Sun, I almost pinched myself. It's just such, and to think that we didn't know what we were doing. We were over there, and this is going to be live. This is going to be live bowls, and first time we'd been really, had that sort of an opportunity on big time TV. And
was that your first time on big time TV?
It was. It was my first. I think it was my first televised game. Yes, it was. I made a couple of indoors finals after a couple of indoors, but I think the BPL was my first TV game, and I'd gone over there. I actually went over there 2 months before. I had enough warning that we were on, so I did a Friday night midnight flight over there and spent a weekend over there and just went to the venue. My theory was there's going to be a lot of stuff here that's very new to me. I don't want it all to be new, so at least I can see the venue. I know exactly where we're going to be. I'm going to have a roll on the greens and things like that. So I went over and did that. I think that was invaluable. And then first TV game, find myself out there against Joe Edwards. Joe played the first.
Oh, yes.
It's a trivia question. Joe played the first televised bowl of a APL at that stage. It was, and I followed. I think the two of us would agree we didn't exactly put on a fantastic show on that first game. No one had a chance to even roll on the TV ring.
No, she outdrew you the first game because we had a quick look at it last night just to make sure. Yeah. So she was about 2 feet behind. I think you were about 3. TV might have been.
My first night there was I was nervous. People had asked me whether I was nervous, and I didn't really feel it. But when I got out there on the green, I could feel my hand shaking a bit. I definitely backed up and improved after that. Learned from those experiences. But what a fantastic! I love the Perth Suns. I love the BPL. I love my role in the BPL now. I think I'll bring something to it, which I really enjoy, and love it.
Certainly come a long way, as you say. When you went there, didn't really know what
to
expect, how it was going to play out. So it has come a long way.
Think about the star moments we've seen at BPLs now. It's remarkable, and it's a brilliant event.
It's really good. It's a really good event.
So the last one I got for you. Last one.
You go.
Last one. You have played for Australia, eh? You got the opportunity?
Yes, yeah. At Howick in Auckland. I absolutely just loved that opportunity. I was basically, Damon Jeffrey it was, from the ACT that said to me, "You're Australia's oldest under 25.
Exactly.
Because the side I was chosen in, you were allowed 2 over 25 age players. So at that stage, that was myself and Andrew Howie. Andrew Howie now doing all that wonderful work up there on all our major events for Bowls Australia. But to go over to New Zealand and sample the greens there, they were absolutely flying. I went on the same trip. David Downey was on that trip as well in the under-18s. So it was a really really special trip to go away and see how the Jackaroos did it. And yeah, I think a couple of stories came out of that trip as well, which I'm sure you're probably going to come up with.
No, I haven't. No, give them to me. Give them to me while you're there. Give me one.
So there was a moment there where we had to tell people something that they didn't know about us.
Oh, that might be on my list.
Yes.
Okay, we will come back to that.
Okay,
we'll come back to that. Yeah. I know.
No, it was a remarkable time. Just that little time through that period of the 2012 to 2014s, where got a lot of things come my way, which I'll always be grateful for.
Sorry, now go.
Yeah, well, we can go back to that as you want to, but maybe we ask a bit more about Clive himself.
Yes.
You mentioned a trivia question. Let's talk about quizzes. You like
Yes,
quizzes?
I do.
You're a man of your quiz, your pub quiz.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, we've been doing that for years. Probably had a group, a core group of us that have probably been doing quizzes for about 25 years. Generally just the once a week. We've had a few different venues. We tend to change venues. If one venue closes down, we find another one that's close by. Look, it's always been a really good. The biggest thing about that is it's been a good way of catching up with my mates that we live at different ends of town, so we don't always see each other. So
okay.
Number one, it's a great excuse to catch up, a bit of a release, and we've always managed to get a few right, which has always been good. But yeah, no, it's just a little bit of an escape for me, I suppose. Yeah, really good fun.
So that sort of leads inside the analytical fantasy sports realm. Similar?
Yeah, you like
big into
like
fantasy sports.
Yeah,
it's a reason to watch sport.
People say, do you follow the Eagles or the Dockers? I said, well, I haven't got the patience to follow the Dockers, so I don't do that. But I tend to follow my fantasy team more than I follow anything else.
Gives you a reason to watch every game.
Absolutely, it does. And I'm currently playing New South Wales fantasy horse racing, fantasy harness racing. So I've been enjoying that. We're a couple of weeks in, and I've been enjoying that. So gives you a reason to watch some races without having to have a bet. So that's nice. Of course, gamble responsibly, everyone. But
yes, of course.
Yeah,
definitely.
But yeah, certainly, I enjoy that, and yeah, I've always been. I guess I like the statistical side of all of that.
You love your spreadsheet.
I crave stats. Well, I've done that for the BPL as well. Love the stats for the BPL. I sort of sat there watching a BPL and sort of saying, gee, there's so much we can draw out of the performances of these players, and so to get in there and start doing a bit of stats analysis of it all, and see the importance of power plays and power play defence, and it's what sport's become about. In a lot of ways. So to be contributing in that space, really enjoy it. And I do love my spreadsheets, love a good Excel spreadsheet.
So your quality, does that come from what's your uni?
Yeah, so I've got a university degree in, the degree's a Bachelor of Computing and Mathematical Sciences. Well, that sounds exciting.
That sounds impressive.
Yeah. So my initial thoughts was I wanted to be a computer programmer. Along those lines, you sort of, as a kid, you sort of say that, you don't necessarily know what it all means, but that's what I came from an accounting
designing
family.
Video games, I would think.
Yeah, I came from an accounting family, and I managed to sort of escape that. But so spent 20 years working with ABB in all sorts of different roles, from software librarian, which started managing all of our floppy disk, which a lot of people these days won't even know what a floppy disk is.
Yeah, most people my age definitely won't.
Had files and files and files of those, all for our systems. That's the way it was managed, and right through to managing the group at times, and just down the road. Actually, spent a lot of time just down the road from the Bowls WA office here in Osborne Park with the ABB team. So another one that 20 years at a place, it helps define you as a person.
Even in that role, you did a bit of country travelling. Because I know you spied on me a couple of times.
Yes.
Out at Cunderton.
Picking up Cameron from school in your state cap. Yes.
I get these messages. What are you doing? Wearing your state cap.
Pick up Cameron from school.
Where are you?
Yes, out at Cunderton.
Just watching.
For the Water Corporation. Yeah, the ABB did a lot of work with the Water Corporation.
Water Corp was just down from the high school. So.
Yes. Yeah, so those are good times. Those are good people, good country folk out there looking after all those systems, and still remember a lot of the guys out there that you used to occasionally get the phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning if you were on call to because it was important. It was when people turn on the tap, they need water to come out. So it was good times.
You want to end with a couple of funny stories, or you got something else you want to hit on?
I might touch a bit on your sports in general, because well, you mentioned playing cricket. What else did you play?
Yep. So I played soccer as a very young child. So I played soccer probably as about a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
I was tiny. I was actually a goalkeeper.
I think Peter mentioned.
we've got a story here.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a story about that.
I hear you didn't see the ball much because it just kept going past you.
Well, no. I think the story you're alluding to is the 14-0 loss.
Yes.
I was the goalkeeper.
Yes.
I saved about 40 that day and got our player of the match.
How can you play with the match when you give
Yeah,
away
14
0?
That was against, I think there was Balcata Etna at that stage, I think they were called. It was a very wet day. It was a very wet day.
You were hiding under the
I was
umbrella.
diving around in the mud. It was basically kick the ball out and it would come straight back at me. So it was soccer out.
Soccer? We've done that one.
So you were done with that one?
Cricket enjoyed the wicket keeping and generally sort of an opening bat, sort of, but I played against some good cricketers in my time.
So you got a Mike Hussey?
Yeah, Michael Hussey. Yeah, I still remember. Yeah, Michael Hussey made 100 against us in. It was either under 13s or under 14s. It was at Woodvale High School. That's where it was, and I wicket kept for that whole innings. Shook his hand when he made 100, but it made it very clear. Callum Thorpe was another one that played for WA. That I think he's taken one of the best catches ever taken at a whacker. I think Callum. And it was pretty clear to me that I was okay at cricket, but I wasn't going anywhere in cricket. Did play a bit of squash as well. Used to play squash as a kid. A little bit of knock around tennis, but nothing serious in tennis. 10-pin bowling. Played 10-pin bowling for probably 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, funny story there. I played Bedford Bowl one year, and I didn't really feel like going 10-pin bowling that night, but I played Bedford Bowl. That was a Thursday and Friday at that stage. Had to go straight from the Bedford Bowl to the centre to play 10-pin and bowled at 279. So that was rather.
You just wanted to
unusual,
get it over
but,
with as quickly as possible.
Yeah, one open frame in the first. 9 open frame in the first frame, and then 11 strikes. But I wish that first strike had gone down. But so a bit of. I love my sport. I love my sport, and
of course basketball.
Basketball,
sharpshooter.
Yes, a bit of a
someone who
shooter.
hasn't got a lot of height.
Yeah,
You need to be good at something.
I knew my limitations. And I guess that's what I think with sport, if you know your limitations and you try and play within those limitations while then trying to develop your game, that's the way to go. So no good trying to do things you can't do. So with basketball, I was more camped on the 3-point line, shooting threes, and used to hit a few, but it was good fun. That was truly playing sport for fun. 10-pin was supposed to be that, but I'm too competitive. So once I started playing 10-pin, I wanted to be the best I could be. Yeah. That's just the way I am. And of course, all of that sport then leads into the radio show we do, which on a Saturday morning.
You want to do a radio show up
plug
at Joondalup?
Community radio on 89.7 on Saturday mornings from 8 to 11.
Which covers sports everywhere. It's not just there's a little bit of bowls, but
talking sport. All of the we have a great panel and we have a lot of fun, and I think that's the key. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We have a lot of fun whilst bringing people a lot of knowledge behind the sports. We have a lot of experts that come on and talk to us about their sports, whether it be their local club or international sport. So it's a bit of everything there and something for everyone.
And the basketball.
You've got a story about this.
This is the best story ever. I've looked and looked for vision. I cannot find it.
No,
there's got to be something somewhere. So something that you had to say something that nobody would know about you.
Yes.
Now that everyone should know about you.
And look, I wasn't scared about people.
You're a Wildcats fan?
Yeah, I wasn't scared about people knowing because it's a bit of fun.
Just never comes up in conversation.
Yeah, so we're at Challenge Stadium and we had this guy that used to sit behind us, and when you're members, you sit in the same seats all the time, so you sort of get to know these people. So we're at this Wildcats game, and the cheerleader comes looking for someone to be part of a thing at halftime, just something at halftime, and the guy behind me puts up his hand. He used to put up his hand for everything, and he and his mate. And they said, "Oh, we need one more." So they're, "Clive, come on." I said, "Well," I said to the cheerleader, "What do we have to do?" She said, "Oh, you're just going to be doing a bit of a dance, you know." I said, "Okay, I really don't dance." She said, "Oh, you'll be fine." So, all right. So we head downstairs and out the back of Challenge Stadium. I said, "Well, what are we going to be wearing?" She said, "I haven't got time to go through any of that at the moment. Well, I need to teach you your routine." I said, "Oh, routine." Okay.
You got employed.
What am I into here? So anyway,
Surely you're going to win a car or win something.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get there and we learn this routine that we're going to have to do and all this sort of stuff that arms up here and arms down here and all that. And I said to her, "What are we going to be wearing?" She said, no. She said, "I haven't got time." She said, "It'll be a big frilly skirt thing. You'll be fine."
Brilliant.
Okay, all right. So come back down just before half-time, and we'll get you kitted up and then you'll be on at half-time. So we go back down and we're given this black sports skirt and a red sequin top. At least it was Wildcats colours, I suppose. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay. All right. So we get out there and there's the three of us and we've got the cheerleader out there with us as well. And off we go. We do our routine, and as I am, I'm competitive. I want to be the best. So off I go, and I do my routine, and the crowd has to decide who wins. So the first guy, he was hopeless. So the crowd just go, no, you were hopeless, Second guy, the crowd went nuts, and I went, "Oh dear, okay, I've lost." I was disappointed. When they came to me, I've never heard a roar like it. Now, I don't know whether it's just the fact that the little short fella was,
They no longer came to watch the Wildcats. They came to watch you dance.
Yeah. So I did win, which was quite pleasing given the fact that the prize
What did you win?
was a carton of beer.
Okay.
Which is excellent given the fact that I don't drink.
Yeah, I was going to say, not much of a drinker.
So, and then the mascot took off with my carton of beer, so I proceeded to chase him across the court. I don't know what I was thinking. It's a moment
If anyone
knows where we can find this vision, it's got to be
very
something.
hard to do that. He tried very hard. He rang the Wildcats and
Yes.
said, "Is there any footage?" And he couldn't get it.
Got to
Shame.
be. It's got to
How
be. I'm
long
putting it
ago
out
was
there.
this?
It's got to be vision.
This was the
Before-
early 2000s.
Okay.
So it was just before
Just before
phones
mobile
were really,
phones.
just before mobile phones were really common.
So
and,
you
and
just
cameras.
you lucked out there.
Someone may have a video.
I mean, mobile phones were around, but they didn't all have all the cameras and all that sort of stuff.
We need it. We need it. That's objectively. That's one of our goals for the year. Finding footage.
The way I sharing that story, I didn't mind people saying that I had a bit of character and could have a bit of fun.
Just never comes up in conversation.
No.
You're never going to ask. So how did your cheerleading go? Cheerleading.
So another sport, interesting. Another sport you're going to get into, cheerleading, perhaps?
No, I do remember that coming up
Short
at
career.
BPL, and they said to Mick Malloy during the BPL coverage, Clive won a cheerleading contest, and his comment was, "Not recently, I'd assume." Yes, and he was correct.
Okay. Maybe we'll head back to that topic that we'll touch on again. Before probably doing a name drop.
Yeah.
Name drops.
Yep.
So have you got any questions around what you wanted to ask Bruno?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I don't think there's anything else.
There's no other hidden
any
secrets,
highlights?
I don't
No
think.
hidden secrets. No highlights.
Highlights.
You wanna
Well, I
look
looked
through a fair few of them on and off the green.
Yeah, I think we've talked about the two pairs wins, one with Reg and one with yourself, Pete, were amazing. Look, I think the state bowls. I take so much pride in representing WA, and whilst I had to fight for it, I didn't see anything wrong with that either. The fact you've got to fight for your spot means, number one, there's others that want it, which is great.
Yep.
And it keeps you on your toes. But I think, the friendships that I've formed through those state bowls, like with Peter, Peter and I played a lot together, and I was willing to, we were willing to play each other's style and work out each other's style, and whilst we didn't always see eye to eye on the green, most of the time we did, most of the time. I was right.
Say not often.
But guys like Tristan Smallacombe and they're friendships that last forever. Kyle and I went to the same high school, and we both won a Rosenthal medal. I guess Rosenthal medals are the other, three of those, and you sort of pinch yourself to say, well, really, is that you sometimes look back and you just say, wow. You just have to say, wow.
Over 200 state games?
Yeah, it's amazing.
200th was in the rain. We nearly didn't get on.
Yes.
You were forcing us out into the rain.
Yeah, we were playing. We were playing.
It was bucketing down.
I was not going home on
Green was
199
nearly,
games.
nearly underwater, and he's telling us we've got to get out there and play.
Yeah.
How did you go?
We got out there.
Got out there?
I think we might have even won.
I think we had a win. Well, it was, and it was played.
It was the last game of the series, so we couldn't win the series.
And I think I played directly against Tristan, which was quite nice, and it's those memories that you. I've been lucky, I guess, because I played with a lot of the greats as well in the early years. A lot of the greats that of your Dennis Katunariches and your John Rinaldi's and your Jeff Ellis.
Jeff was one name I was going to bring up.
You've kind of
Jeff. You've really strong relationship with Jeff.
Yeah, just love the man. He's just been so supportive of me, and he was part of that Wanneroo winning team as well, and just an absolute legend of our sport. Another guy that was just a remarkable draw shot. There are times if you were picking someone to draw a shot for your life, Reg and Jeff, who I was lucky enough to play a lot of bowls with and be great friends with, they were two that you would have had very, very high on that list.
Yeah. Well, Nick, sort of his name, but you probably have one in every sport, was the mailman at some point, because he always delivered no matter what the situation.
Yeah.
High stakes, low stakes, he always played well. So
still
super consistent.
And still doing it up there at Geraldton. So I do get the opportunity to catch up with Jeff. When I travel up there for work, I always make sure I go out of my way to have dinner with Jeff and catch up with him, because he's someone a truly great human that I really rate.
That's about all I got, buddy.
Yeah, took the name drop away from us.
Yeah.
We're getting excited about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I'll switch it up then. Let's ask you the question. Let's say a scenario, you've bumped into someone, they want to ask about bowls. How would you sell it to them? How would you convince them to join?
So
it's your job.
Almost, the first thing is how I love the family aspect of our sport, and I love the inclusivity of our sport. So it doesn't matter who you are, age, gender, physical attributes, all of that. It doesn't matter. You can have a great game of bowls.
There's
with
a
somebody
place
else.
for you in the sport somewhere.
And who would have thought that we've seen stories just over the last few weeks of young versus old and things like that in our sport. A 13-year-old can go out against an 8-year-old, and both of them can try as hard as they can and not have to take their foot off the pedal, because our game suits everybody. Yeah. I love that. That would be the biggest thing I love about bowls, is you never know when you played your best ever game either. There's no such thing. You don't know. You can always get better. You can always learn. And I certainly have a passion to seeing young people get involved in our sport. But I've got that same passion for a 40-year-old that's played other sports all the way through and discovers our sport and discovers that yes, you can get your competitive edge satisfied by playing our sport.
Which is the most common thing you hear from maybe a 50, 60-year-old who takes up the sport. I wish I'd known about it sooner.
Yeah, well, I wish I'd taken it up 10 years earlier. If I'd known that, I'd have been one when I did that, so it would have been
a bit hard for you, a little bit difficult for me. But for some others who have maybe they've had a career in another sport, maybe they haven't. It doesn't matter.
And look at the changes that have come in our sport. I've been playing 37 years now. Look at the changes that have come about. We talked about the BPL and that side of the sport, but the colours, the coloured bowls, all sorts of stuff that the formats that we play, the shorter formats. We've seen Jack Attack out there and people being introduced to the sport in that way, and clubs running those competitions and having a ball doing it.
Yep.
There's something for everyone in our sport. And look, if bowls isn't for you, still something you can get from the club. You can still go along and be part of the social fabric of the club, which we know particularly in country areas is massive in terms of its importance in what our clubs represent.
Yeah, I think that's a great final word. Is there anything else you want to say before?
No, well done. We made it. We made it. Yep.
Did you feel comfortable on the other side?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I loved it. Yeah, no, it's very good. Very good.
Thank you very much.
You were reasonably kind. So.
Exactly. I didn't ask the important question. Best skipper you've ever played?
With. Yeah.
Well, not against, but with, of course.
Pete, we had such a great bond, and a successful one too. We won a lot of games together, and that's very special, and that's because you've got to be willing to play your role in a team, and I think that's what we had.
Yeah, that time period of, and you don't always get it, that 06, 07, 08, where we won 6 games out of 7 and 5.5 and 6 or something, or whatever it was. We had a great 4-year period.
Yeah.
With it's hard to forget.
It is. So I guess for me, I'm still a proud West Aussie. I love spruiking West Aussie every chance I get. Don't always get the opportunity to do that on the rink side. I've got to be impartial, but no, I love seeing WA's success. Couldn't have been prouder. You've already spoken to Chrissy in an earlier episode. And,
absolutely.
What pride to see Chrissy and Ellen, but Chrissy from a WA perspective, do so well over there. I just couldn't have been prouder to have watched. You see people grow up in the sport, and then to see them achieve, it's pretty special.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much. Just a quick thing again, guys. Remember, if you have any funny bowl stories or any guests you particularly want on to see on the podcast, just email in at podcast@bowlswa.com.au. That's podcast@bowlswa.com.au. Make sure to put a subject in there so it doesn't get missed. If it's a story, podcast story. If it's a guest, podcast guest. And thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Holding Shot podcast. You can subscribe on all your usual podcast platforms or find us on YouTube under Bowls WA. For more bowls related content, head to our website at bowlswa.com.au or follow us on social media at Instagram or Facebook under Bowls WA. Until next time, good bowling everyone.